Okay, so can I get a show of hands who has either built or edited a generic inquiry? Okay. Um, who's used an import scenario? Okay. So I'm going to show you some helpful things that you can do with a generic inquiry that will basically allow you to turn it into a processing screen and also do mass updates, which you can use instead of using an import scenario. If you've worked with import scenarios, you know they can be a bit of a pain sometimes. So this is another method for making mass updates that's a little more user-friendly. So just a warning, obviously, anytime you're doing mass updates of records in your production instance, you want to be careful, make sure you know what you're doing. So this is a powerful tool, I think, but feel free to reach out if you have questions and try in your test environment first. Just a little caveat there. So what I'm going to do to demonstrate is I'm going to go into the invoices and memos primary list. And I'm going to go to edit the generic inquiry. So this takes me to the generic inquiry screen. And this is my primary list for my invoices and memos. And good rule is don't change it, don't mess with it. It comes with Acumatica out of the box. It's not something that Acunet created for you. So rather than editing this, I'm going to make a copy of it. The connection is a little slow. There we go. Yes. Are you copying and pasting or doing an XML import? Yeah, you could try that. Yeah, but the more complex it is, it might take longer. Yeah. Gotcha.
Are we getting errors?
Like 15 tables of creditors. Yeah. It was it would just sit there, clock, never stop. Like, okay.
So I just copied and pasted the primary list into a new GI. I'm going to add it to the processes section of the receivables workspace. Save it. I go ahead and publish it to the UI. And give it the same access rights as the invoice and memo screen. All right, so I've got my new GI. Oh, looks like it unpublished it. Sorry about that. All right. All right, we're all set. So we're going to focus on the entry point tab of the GI screen. So I've got, by default, since I copied this from the primary list, it's got invoice and memos as the entry screen. So on this generic inquiry, we're going to run it. You'll see you'll be able to add invoices from the results grid. Over here, I've got operations with records. So this is what I'm going to show you. If you want to be able to do mass actions on records, you can check this box. It adds the mass actions tab. I'm also going to enable mass record deletion. That's scary. Also going to check this one for mass record update. Save. Now I'm going to go over here and I'm going to pick some fields that I want to be able to mass update on this generic inquiry. So I'm going to do description with the invoice, and we're going to do due date. And then I'm going to go to mass actions and pick some mass actions that I want to be able to take. We're going to do release and reverse and apply to memo. And we're going to do email. Okay, so now I'm going to view the inquiry. And so now I've got my list of invoices here. You can see I have 6 invoices in balance status. Those are the ones we're going to mess with to show you how this works. So I'm only going to take actions on 2 at a time just to show you. But obviously, the more records you're dealing with, the more time this is going to save you. You could do it for hundreds of records at a time. So first, what we're going to do is these first 2 invoices, I'm going to release them because they're in balance status. So it adds release and release all. So if I did release all, it would release anything that's in balance status, but I just want to do these 2. So I'm going to click release and release the invoices. So now, let's say made a mistake. I need to reverse these invoices and close them. So you could open the invoices individually and do that, but this will allow you to do it in bulk if you're dealing with a lot of records. So I'm checking those 2 boxes, and I'm going to do reverse and apply to memo, which is an action in the invoice screen. I'm just doing it in bulk from the generic inquiry. So at that. So now I've got 2 credit memos sitting there in balance status. So I'm just going to open them to see what happened. So what it did is it created the credit memo, which is a reverse of the invoice, and applied it to the invoice. And I left it in balance status so I can review before I release them. But I can go ahead and also release those from here. So now my invoices and credit memos are closed. That's all done. Next, let's look at 2 more records. Let's do a mass update. So I'm going to click update. And I'm going to put the description in there. I'm going to make the due date that. So now let's see if it worked. Oh, we can already see it works. I see on-site consulting there. And then I see the due date is July 1st. So you can see how if you made a mistake and you have a lot of records and you want to do a quick update of those fields, instead of creating an import scenario, getting a file, uploading it, running into problems, and it's a lot simpler to do something like this. I think you would need to have the whole description in there if you're doing this. Yeah.
So it wipes out whatever you have in the description.
Mhm. It would replace it. Yep. Yep. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and release those. Basically, Acumatica doesn't have batches, so you can use screens like this to release things in bulk. So you kind of get the batch functionality without actually having a batch. So I released those. So now I'm going to show you another action I can take, which I added, just to email them. My internet's a little slow. There we go. So just to show you that it worked, I can go in here and click activities, and I can see the email that was generated to send the invoice to the customer. Go. So lastly, I closed my. The last thing I was going to show you is these other two balance ones. Let's say I just need to delete them. I did add the mass delete action as well. So I can go ahead and click delete. And they're gone. So those are some cool things you can do with the mass actions and updates. These processing screens here have some of those options, but they're limited, so you can do more using the generic inquiry. I probably used too much time, so sorry to the rest of you. But I'm going to go ahead and transition it over to Trisha.
I'll talk really fast.
Nobody cares about lunch.
Thank you, Jesse. All right. Okay, so today I'm going to go over a couple of tips and tricks and things in the project module to help save everybody some time setting up and using projects. So first I'm going to go over project templates. So templates are used to provide default values to simplify the setup of a new project. So the more information you put in a template, the less clicks that you will need to save a new project. So you can have an unlimited number of templates depending on how many different types of projects you have. And then, so to create project templates, you can either create a new one from scratch in the template screen. You can open a project that currently exists and create a template from there, or you can take a current template and copy to a new one and then modify as you need to. So I'm going to open up a project template here. I'm just in a standard demo environment, so there'll be a bunch of things up here. Filter here. I'm going to open up a fixed price template. So when I open up here, I have a template ID. I have a description to help me know what this template should be used for, and then the status can either be active or hold. So only an active template can be selected when creating a new project. So once we get out of the header, you'll see a lot of this information. Most of you are familiar with Acumatica, at least a little bit, not everybody here, but the setup of this screen is very similar to what the actual project screen looks like. So you'll have some properties with some budget information, account managers. As you scroll down here, there's some restrictions. You can have allocation and billing rules. These are all fields that are on a regular project setup. Over here, I have tasks. So if you have a certain number of tasks that are applicable most of the time to a project, a group of projects, you can put those on your templates. You can always add or remove tasks from the actual project if you need to modify them from the template setup. Here we've got some revenue and cost information. There's some employees that have been used to restrict who gets to see the time card, the project's on a time card. And then over here, I have like a default, some GL defaults, depending on how your project module is set up. These fields may or may not be used when processing data. And then here I have an attributes tab. Which I'm going to get into attributes here in a few minutes. So now what I'm going to do is go in and I'm going to create a project using that template. It's a little slow. Wow. It's really slow. Okay. Yeah. So if I click my new project, this system is set up to automatically increment and create a project ID. So I'm going to select my customer. Come on, here we go. I will select the template that I was just in. And you'll see here, it'll automatically default in information from the template. So it brought in the description. I can modify that to be different for the specific project. I might add a project manager. And then here now I'm just going to save my project. So this has the majority of all my setup done with just a couple of mouse clicks. So over here, you'll notice that the status is in planning. So the project and also the tasks are in planning. So at this point, I can either modify them individually if I'm saying I'm ready to begin the first task, but the rest we're not quite ready for yet, or I can go ahead and I can just activate all my tasks. I can activate my project. And now here it's ready for all your users to do any kind of processing and reporting that you need to do for it. All right, so that was project templates. The next thing I'm going to cover are common tasks. So common tasks is kind of a template for setting up just a task. So what I showed you before was a project template that also could have tasks included with it, but common tasks are not attached to a template. So you can add those to any project at any time. So again, you can have an unlimited number of common tasks. So to create a common task, you just go into the common task screen. There's a few set up here. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to add a new one and I'm going to call it reports. And this will be for custom reports I might do on a project. Okay, and I am going to use a billing rule. I'm going to stick with my fixed price. And then there might be an allocation method also. I could do accounts and sub-accounts. I'm not going to get into that much detail, but once I save this, this is now a template for a task, basically. So to use this, I can come into any project in the system. I will take my new project that I just created. And now if I come over to the task tab, there is a button here to add common tasks. So here now I'll see all the common tasks where I can pick one, I can pick multiple ones at a time, and then go ahead and add them. So now once I activate them, now I have my new tasks already set up. So again, the more information you can provide in your template, the less clicks it is to create it and get your users in the system using it. Okay, the last thing I'm going to go over is attributes in projects. So attributes in Acumatica are elements used to store information related to particular entities. They're used throughout Acumatica. You can have attributes on customers, vendors, inventory items, like literally all over the place. You can set up attributes. So there's kind of two steps. You first create the attribute within the system, and then you tell it, oh, what did I just do? There, sorry. You tell it where you want to use the attribute. So attributes are set up under configuration. Depending on security, certain users may or may not be able to, create attributes. You might have people do this for you, or you might be the one that's creating them. Here, I'm just going to create an attribute for our contract. Contract ID. My type can be text, combo box, dates. So you've got some action options here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save. Oh, what did I do? Oh, nope, I didn't hit the right button. So I'm going to save this attribute. So now where the project piece of this comes in is under the project attributes tab. I now have the option to take all of my attributes that exist and select where I want to use that. So within project, you can create an attribute on a project task, on an account group, or on equipment. So here, I'm just going to go to my project level, and I'm now going to come down here, and I'm going to select to add my contract that I just created. And then here you can give it a sort order. So I'm noticing there isn't anything in spot 5, so I'm going to put it in the 5th space. Again, it's just a sort order of how they show on the screen. So now if I go back into my project and I go over to my attributes tab, I now have a contract ID in the 5th slot where I can come in here and key in data. So attributes are a great feature in Acumatica. You can use them to do all kinds of reporting, filtering. I mean, it's, you know, it's sort of like a custom field. That's pretty powerful to use for your users. Okay, so that is what I had for my piece today. So Sean is going to be next. So let me. Jesse, do we need to do anything to be able to hear Sean? Or Sean, do you want to come off mute so we can?
Yeah, I'm off you now.
Oh, yes, you are. We can hear you.
All right.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to cover some basic tips that you can work with on the project screen. Or sorry, not the project screen, on the report screen. So what you can do on here is very basically, as everyone knows on these reports, you come to here, put your details in that you want, and then you go ahead and just run the report, and it'll give you your information. But sometimes you don't want to go in the habit of always having to enter information over and over again, or always click this button to click a PDF before you print it off. And there's templates you can set up, and the system will keep those. So also, a reason why you will want to kick it to PDF first before you print it off, because if you use this viewer, the system will automatically put those web browsers, headers and footers, and it'll like kick all your page breaks off, and it can cause headaches. So I always recommend to kick it to PDF first before you print it off. All right. All right, so let's go back here. Oh, and actually, there's a quick thing right there. If you're missing a report and you realize you want to change something on it, instead of having to go back here and find it, you hit this pencil, and it'll take you right back to the main page. So there's the base report. So let's say I want this report to always print off onto, let's put it back where it was. I want, it defaults it to detail. I want the summary by default, and I want it to print in PDF. So then I just click this and this. I will save this as default. And now when I refresh this page, of course, it's not going to do it for me now. Well, right. It was, so it should default to that page right there, but not sure why I didn't do that time. So this was here. So now if I run this report, it's already done. So even if it is not doing it right there, you just go through here and select it. So there's that. And here is a few other templates. Like here's another template I set up that only views active projects. And it's 22 pages. And it's all right here. So now, if I wanted to tweak this, let's say I want to go back to my default. And if I run this report now, it had the previous one active only had 22 pages. This one with everything will have 42 pages. And a lot of times you don't want to print off all 42 pages of those. You only want to print the ones you actually want to look at, which is why I created the active projects one. And that was created by doing the same thing before. I've changed the summary. I've sent it as a PDF. But then on this additional sort and filters tab, I added a filter, which is project status equals A. Good thing for you. It actually shows the value here, but in the system, it references as A. Acumatica has what you see on the user interface, but on the back end, it's usually an abbreviation or some different coding on that. And for most of Acumatica, A is active. So, and so if I wanted to say I only wanted to view completed, this would then change the whole report that way. So let's say I change it to completed. and I change this to save this, and I want to change this to completed projects. Now I have 3 different templates. Run this one. And this has 15 pages. All right. So it's very simple to create these and tweak these. You can go through here and add different IDs on them. So if you want to have certain ones that only reference certain currency, different task IDs. Task IDs pop up on the detailed, but you don't need to worry about that one. So I'm sorry, if you wanted to, but for this example, we're keeping everything to summary because with the details, it really blows out. So you can add different filters here over and over again. If you wanted to, let's say, for example, we wanted to see in planning status, and we wanted to see suspended ones. I'll just do this right here. Some of your basic information like this, and we'll save this template as planning and suspended. And I can run this report. I don't know how many there's going to be. There's 5. So there's a total of 5 projects that have this suspended or in planning status. And now it's great. We have all these reports and different things along those lines and the different templates together. A lot of times we want to get the information, and you can set if this information to be set up that you can run it manually if you want, or you can actually schedule these templates to be processed at certain times of day. So they get emailed out to everyone. So if you have a group of people who you're always emailing reports to, you can set systems up and schedules in the system that they will run the report and then email it out to everyone you want it to go to. So this right here, I schedule this one to go out, and that's tied to a schedule in the back end. That's more advanced than we're going to cover in this. But if you need any help with that, you just reach out to us and we'll help you guys with that. All right. Print email settings. This is where I put some of those things in there. So for planning and scheduling, will go to me. I think with all these I set up, I should go to me. This you can set it on by default, and you can change this per template. And then you just go through and schedule each one. So that works pretty simple on that. And a lot of times, I said with the scheduling, any questions, reach out to us and we'll help you guys with that. Sort filters, if you want to, you can change the filters on these. Let's add the sorts on these. This right here allows you to do quick changes to a report without having to go into the back end and change stuff. Because once you do it on the back end, you're stuck with that rule. But if you do it here, you have a lot more flexibility to have different templates for each need. All right. Then over here, we have report versions. So every time that we save a report in a revision to a report, it shows up here. And I don't think with this test data set, I don't have any in here, but you can actually go through and change these out. The problem is if you change this is a global setting. So if you change it for you change it for the whole company. So for it, always try to, if you need to go back to a previous report, a previous version for some information, some layout change, always make sure you care about your timing. Otherwise, it will be a change that affects everyone in the business. I've had companies where I worked before where there was one particular customer who just wanted an old version of an invoice. And so for the accounting team would go and change the version for only that customer. So, all right. Let's go through here. And now let's say I want to run this report. I just want to run the. Actually, let's go to inventory. Let's do that one. So inventory balance. All right. I'm going to leave everything as is and run the report. All right. As you see, we're not in the PDF view. We're in what Acumatica calls the HTML view. Everything's right here. And let's say I want to actually mess with this data a bit. I can kick this to Excel from right here. Open it up. and it's all right here. And then I can go through, I can delete my headers and put my filters in here and do anything I want. And it's all pretty clean. This does get more complicated if you have things with a lot of serial tracking and things along those lines. But I have worked with different templates and formulas before that can clean that up. So it's something you can work around if you know you're doing Excel right. But like I said, it's pretty simple, pretty clean. It's like a generic inquiry, but without the inquiry side. You just create a report and kick it out. These fields can be changed so that way that they are in a different order than they are on the screen right here. I don't recommend it, but it's one of the things that's possible. But that has to be done on the back end of the report. All right. So there's a lot of my main things here. As you see, there's a space here because of this right here. There's likely, right here. There's likely a empty spot on the report designer screen that has that there. So you can just ignore that and everything's all good. All good. You can go through and just delete it. And you have your exact same information that's on this report in Excel. All right. That's all I have. If you guys have any questions or you want to know more information on this stuff, reach out to us and we can help you out.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you, Sean.